seconds left, so I think.
Yeah, I've taken it live. Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. We'll just wait for like 1 to 2 minutes so that everyone can join. I can see still people joining. We are around 10 as of now, and we'll just give a little time for people to join and so that everybody benefits from what we're going to cover today. Yeah, so we will just wait for like 1 to 2 minutes. We see people joining right now. Okay, hi, Sushant. Hi, Yogesh. Good evening. We also have, someone who recently passed CISSP with us, and we will be discussing, the strategies as to how to tackle this beast of an exam. Right. We have still people joining, and let's wait a little bit more, and then we will join. We do have the recording session, which will be there on YouTube and LinkedIn, of course. Right. So let's start so that as and when people keep joining, we will take their questions and take their queries as they keep joining. Right. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session of Protect Academy's live webinars. We keep conducting these webinars from time to time. And today's webinar is completely focused on passing CISSP in 90 days. Now, why this 90 days? Why not 30 days? Why not 60 days? Why not 100 days? Why not 6 months? Now, the major problem with the CISSP certification exam is it's lengthy, it's big. This is, I always keep the Cybex in front of me. This is a huge book. There's a lot to cover. There's a huge amount of ground which you need to cover. And the moment you extend it or you stretch it beyond, I'll say 90 days, it starts taking a toll on your personal life, your professional life. And that's why once you come to this exam, it's very important that you finish this exam as soon as possible. Okay, so that is the context which I would like to bring in for this particular exam. I just missed my screen. Oh, wait a second. Just wait. Yeah. Right. Okay. So that's the main aim of our this session as to how to pass this exam, coming to this exam, and clear it as soon as possible. Right. So a little bit about me. I'm Colonel Subhajeet. I retired from the Indian Army. It's been almost 2 years now that I've retired. Once I retired, I had already planned my transition. I was into the networking, edge networks. While in Army, I was involved with IPMPLS network layout across the country for a project called Network for Spectrum. I was also involved with cybersecurity, electronic warfare. I commanded a unit on the Chinese battlefront. Okay, and then I took a premature retirement and ventured into a startup and cybersecurity space. Okay, I have multiple certifications over a period of time. I've taken I'll say, found uh, belongingness towards CISSP because I realized that this is one certification which is definitely difficult to crack, but at the same time, it brings immense value to your career, right? So our mission is pretty clear. We want to train 1 lakh cyber warriors and provide the talent pool to the world, right? If you look at the complete cybersecurity career progression, InfoSec domain per se, This is what it's laid down. And if you look at one common factor, CISSP is there almost the moment you cross the 5 to 10 years, bracket. So even if you are technically hands-on, someone who's technically hands-on, someone who is into operations, someone who is just starting his or her career in cybersecurity and information security, somewhere down the line, the entire career merges once you are in the management roles, and that's where CISSP becomes very important to scale into this career. Now, one of the why CISSP is becoming so popular and why it is required is because, see, if you look at the entire information and cybersecurity domain, there's no structured training right from our education days. So this is something which has come up as a mainstream uh, certification, which gives you adequate knowledge, of course, and also relates to what is happening in the industry and in the organization all across, right? This is something which we keep discussing, and we do carry out pay package analysis, and we have seen that all senior positions today do demand CISSP, and somewhere from the mid management to even higher management, even if you are looking at becoming a CISO, this particular certification brings a lot of value. So with that as an aim, today's presentation is all about certified information system security professional and how to clear the certification in 90 days. Right? Why CISSP? I told you, it's something which is, firstly, it's a gold standard certification. It's a difficult certification to prepare for. And tomorrow, if I'm interviewing someone and you're there in front of me and you say that you are a CISSP certification holder, I value and respect your certification. That is one of the premium, I'll say one of the premium points about CISSP certification, right? Once you have the certification, what happens is you are no longer, definitely you've been hands-on on network security or security operations, you've been in SOC, fine, that's all fine. Okay, you've been a GRC analyst or a GRC manager role or a director level role, doesn't matter. What happens once you do CISSP is you cover the entire domains of information and cybersecurity aspects, and now it puts you at a better front foot, of applying this knowledge which you gain over preparation of this CISSP journey into the management and evolution of the security architecture and engineering domain and management of a given organization which you work for. Right. So what is the exam all about? So this exam has got 8 domains. They are interrelated, correlated, loosely coupled somewhere, tightly coupled somewhere. Right. So these are the 8 domains which you work for. You need 5 years of experience in any of the 2 domains to appear for this exam. Not very strict requirement, but it's good to have, because then only you'll be able to understand the perspective what is required to clear this exam. Right. It's 150 questions now, 150 question multi-choice question exam, 3 hours, and it is conducted live at Pearson VUE testing centers. Right. So now let's hear from someone who has recently passed this exam. Prakhar joined my training somewhere in the month of January, 5th January batch, if I'm not wrong. And by the time we finished this batch, he was already prepared and ready to go, and he cleared the exam within, I think, around 70 days of preparation time. So, Prakhar, over to you, and let's hear it out to you. What was the strategy? How did you prepare? And what is it that worked for you? Right? Over to you, Prakhar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction, providing this opportunity. So, hello everyone. My name is Prakhar, and I hold certification in CISP and CCSP. Now, considering the fact that you are all here in this webinar, I can safely assume that the CISP certification is on your radar. So, without any further ado, let me share my preparation plan and approach. So for this journey, while preparing for CISP, I started off by getting myself enrolled with the Product Academy for the course under Subhajeet sir guidance. And as I know that the CISP as an exam requires a well-rounded strategy. So what I did very first from my side is to understand the landscape. And when I say landscape, I was trying to familiarize myself with the exam format, content covered in across the 8 domains, So the idea was to get understanding about all this, and then started with the roadmap, which will help me to focus while studying. And while doing this preparation, I think enrolling with Sir really helped me, and I tell you the reason for that. Because during the sessions, it helped me to build the foundation, which I utilize further while doing my self study. So what I did, like as Sir was mentioning earlier in the session, that it's the length of the course, which generally kind of becomes challenging for all the aspirants who are trying to prepare for CISSP. So I tried to be consistent while continuing with the session with the Sir. And I would say I have utilized those sessions to the maximum by engaging with Sir to understand the concepts and also to clear my doubts while understanding those concepts. And to be honest, the best part of those sessions were where we used to align in the small group of 2 3 people, and started discussing on the concepts, and then also trying to understand the concept which we have learned. And definitely there were some discussions and brainstorming on the concepts what we were learning. As part as the part of the plan, I tried to be regular in my study, going through the cybex along with the sessions, and then revisiting the weaker topics periodically. I also try to structure my study plan in a way that it ensures I revisit every topic within a week of learning for the first time, and then again after 8 or 9 days to ensure things stay with me. For the study purpose, as I was mentioning, that I was going through the sessions along with Sir. Then, along with that, I also opted for Cybex ninth edition as a study material. Apart from that, I also visited, Google and YouTube for the some of the topics which I thought like I would like to get more knowledge and get more into the details. Along with that, in the end, I would say like just a couple of weeks before the exam, for the revision purpose, I again went through the recorded sessions by Sir, which helped me to revise all the content and the major topics which are there in the exam course line. Uh, Apart from study, I would say another thing which is really very important is to try to practice questions. When so for me, the strategy was like when I was completing a domain, I used to try the questions given at the end of the cybex after each chapter. And then I also tried to practice some questions from the online apps which are available for to in order to assess my learning and understanding. And the last thing I would like to share is a week before the exam. So for the before before my exam, I started practicing Boston question bank, which was really good, and it really helped me to understand the context, and I would say the type of question you can expect. But there is a disclaimer here. Do not expect the questions will be the same or similar what you have done as a part of practice. So the idea here is during the CISP journey is to understand the concepts and try to learn how to apply them. And I think that was really helpful for me when I went on to the exam. And I if I remember correctly, for me, the exam was closed after attempting 125 questions, and yeah, the exam was clear for me. That's how I prepare. Any questions do you have for me?
Great. Thank you, Prakhar. Thank you so much for this, short and pretty concise manner in which you brought out. You brought out what is required. It requires consistent preparation. It requires consistency. That's one thing. Is it easy, difficult? I don't know. Some people will say it was easy. Some people say I over prepared. But at the same time, no question bank, no dumps will help you in this exam unless you are very, very clear with the concepts. You might do 10,000 questions, but you are not clear with the concept. I'm sorry, you cannot pass this exam. Right, Prakash? Thank you so much for giving your time from Netherlands. Prakhar joins us from Netherlands, and after clearing CISSP within 1 month, he cleared CCSP on his own. And that's the good thing, guys. Once you start aiming things, difficult things, more difficult things become easier, right? Right, Prakhar?
Right, sir. Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Prakhar.
you so
Thanks
much,
for
sir.
joining, and
And all the best,
thank
everyone.
you for your time.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Yeah, take care. Bye. Okay, so this was Prakhar joining us from Netherlands to give his success story, short and sweet, and he prepared and cleared the exam within 70 days. Now I'm going to give you a short 90 days preparation plan. And why 90 days? Very simple. You make it short, you make it sweet, you make it simple. Then only you pass this exam. The moment you make it a long drawn battle, you start getting what is called fatigue, and then somewhere down the line you give it up. Okay. So 90 days preparation plan. First is read. Read what? Read Cybex if you can. If not, there is a beautiful book called Destination Certification. Okay. This is written by a few of my friends who were there preparing with me in my CISSP journey. So read Cybex. Of course, Cybex is inescapable. I always say those who have 5 years of experience, those who have a good understanding of English, Cybex is the go-to book for this particular, exam. Right. Once you've read Cybex, so what is the first thing? First thing you do is you read Cybex. Right. Now this is a shallow read. This shallow read will take you roughly 30 to 40 days. Okay. Once you have gone through this, this has given you the complete overview of what you need to do. Then second thing you do is you now revisit. Now this revisit is where is your core of the preparation happens. And this core, what you do is you read Cybex with the aim to clear the concepts. You also understand applications. You understand the application on each and everything that is there in that book to see whether you understand the application of each and every concept. Okay. And the third revisit, this will take you roughly around 30 days. Okay. And the third revisit is now you're challenging the weak areas. Okay. This should take approximately 20 days. Okay. And along all these three spheres, what you do is you practice questions. You practice questions even on the first go, you practice questions even on the second go, you practice questions once you are done your entire weakness identification and you've done with it. So this is where you also do practice question. But what you do where, I will tell you in the next sessions. Now, this is roughly a 90 days plan. Okay. After this, you will be well prepared to attempt this exam. And what are the best, suggestion or the best advice I can give you? The day you want to attempt this exam, you book the exam. The moment you book the exam, you have a target. You know you have to achieve this target. You are here. Now you know that you have very, very defined space to attempt this difficult certification. And then only you will be able to commit. So if you commit, this is the time, you will be able to achieve this exam. Preparation will be slow and slightly you will peak at around 90 days. So once you peak, you give the exam. Because beyond this, your peak will start going away. Okay. And that's why around 90 to 100 days is what I recommend for all serious people who want to clear this exam. They should aim 90 to 100 days. Right. Now, one of the major factors I would like everyone to know, whether you prepare or not, whether you're in the infosec domain, you are there in the infosec domain, whether you want to attempt in CISSP or not, is to understand domain correlations. Okay, so what is domain correlation all about? Okay, the first domain is your security and risk management. Okay, now this is a very important domain. This domain has an overarching correlation with all other domains, whether it is asset security, okay, whether it is security engineering, whether it's communication security, right? And then identity and access management, and then operations, then testing, then SDLC. No matter whatever domain you see, the overarching domain is security and risk management. Now, what is this domain all about? Now, security and risk management tells you how to govern security in your organization, how to take risk-based decisions, okay, how to plan business continuity. These are the three major, I'll say, uh, goals of domain one. So that means you want to govern security in your organization. How do you do that? You do that by managing security, right? And whenever you manage security, you cannot be 100%, that you will be able to safeguard your assets. And that's why your decision making is always risk based. And tomorrow, if you are doing any solution, picking any solution in your organization, it has to be based on risk. Because if you don't have risk-based decision, then it will not be an objective decision. It will be a very subjective decision, which will end up, having very high cost, having very low security. Okay. Thirdly, is cybersecurity. If you look at cybersecurity and information security, today cybersecurity has a capability to deny your business the required availability. So that means, say you run a web application or your business runs on some mobile application. What is that thing that can make your application go, out of business, not available? Say there is a denial of service attack on your web application. What are the consequences? That means business continuity somewhere becomes today a very, very important part of security and risk management. Because if you don't consider cybersecurity as a business stopper, then you will not be able to view it as a business continuity aspect, right? So there might be times and places where attackers will attack your infrastructure and your business goes down because of the attack on your infrastructure, right? So once security and risk management you understand, you go to the next domain, that is uh, asset security. Now, asset security is where you try to identify what you have. Okay, you identify what you have, you label it. Okay, that is, you label your data, and then you protect it. So it is all about protecting your asset over entire life cycle. But then again, if you want to take any decisions for securing your assets, it has to be from your risk-based approach. The third is your security architecture and engineering. Now, architecture and engineering is a little difficult domain, which people try to give up by the time they reach domain three, that is architecture and engineering. And again, this is a slightly difficult domain where it goes into depth of how to architect and engineer security. Again, if you want to take decisions, even in this particular domain, they have to be based on what you learned in domain one. Domain fourth is all about communication and network security, and those most of the people who come to appear for CISSP are from the network background. Generally, they hold CCNA and CCIE certifications. They are the most well suited for this particular certification because they have been into operations, they have seen how to deploy security controls. So generally, they find it more easier to clear this certification. Right. Then domain five is all about identity and access management. Now, if you look at security today, security is all about access. Okay, where is the data? Where is the asset? Who wants to access it? And is the access eligible? Okay, so that is covered by the domain called identity and access management. Right? Then domain six is about security testing. Once you've deployed all your security controls and everything, how do you test security? How do you do audits, right? So security testing is not only about audits. You need to check your application security. You need to check your control security. If you've deployed a control, whether the control is working well or not, right? You need to test that. So security testing, six domain is all about how to test your security. Then domain seven is how do you run your security. Okay? Now this has got nothing to do with SOC. Let me tell you very clearly. SOC is just a tool, to be frank. It's a tool which has been used by certain people sitting and monitoring it. When you look at CISSP security operations, it's about if you are an organization and you want to run your organization smoothly under cyber threats, how do you operate it? What are the factors in mind you have to keep to run your organization smoothly? And finally, we come to domain 8, that is system development lifecycle, wherein we say whatever we procure, whatever we develop, whatever we use has to be done in a structured manner, and it has a given life cycle. And once that life cycle is over, you have to discard. Okay, so these are the domain correlations of CISSP, right? Why CISSP is a hotcake? It is a hotcake. Anyone who has done CISSP in last 1 year, they've got very nicely placed. It also opens up a lot of doors for other careers, right? If you want to build up a career in cloud, you want to build up a career in risk management, business risk management, you want to build up your career in data loss prevention or data security, privacy, it opens doors for you, and doors which you were probably not aware of till now. And that's why CISSP is a key. Are you eligible? Can you handle it? These are the questions, right? You commit to it. Unless you commit to it, you'll not be able to know. But are you eligible? So let me tell you, if you have a good technical background, you have been in network security space, you have been in any of the 8 domains, whether physical security space, you understand what is TCP/IP all about, how basic networking works, okay, why you require identity and access management, okay, how to purchase software diligently, right? How do you purchase software? If you want to buy a car today, are you not going to do a research? Are you not going to find out which is the best car in the given budget? Same goes with software. If you want to buy software or build software, what are the considerations going to be? And this is important as far as security is concerned, because if you buy your software from a reliable partner, you will get support. But if you buy the same software from an unreliable partner, it's going to bring in a lot of vulnerabilities. It's going to bring in, it might be low at cost initially, but the overall operational cost will probably be very high, and it might have serious implications on your security. So are you eligible? Can you handle it? If you have slight technical background and you have the dedication in you to sit for 90 days and prepare for this exam, yes, you can handle it. Now, how much time do you want? If you are a slightly senior guy, 10 to 15 years of service, you can clear this exam even in 60 days, right? But this 90 days is for people who are 5 years of experience, 10 years of experience, not very well versed with other domains. They work only on network or only GRC, not very technically qualified. Then in that case, you require 90 days. People have passed in 30 days also, right? I have a friend who passed in 15 days. He just read the Cybex once, went and did the exam, right? He found it difficult. He didn't practice too many questions. But then he was a senior guy. He had worked in almost all domains, and he could logically sequence out the answers, right? He prepared for hardly 15 days, right? But then there are genius and there are normal people like me who take 60 to 90 days to clear an exam, which is difficult. Right. So where are my batches started? First batch starts 18th May. This batch is almost full. If anybody is planning, can join. I think 5 or 6 seats left. That will tell you. Another batch starts on 7th of July and ends on 8th of August. So, but we have a self-study period before we start the exam. Uh, Balance you can find out from my associates, right? So this is the CISSP category examination with of no concern. Once you're preparing for CISSP, you have to prepare. You have to give equal weightage to all the domains, because if you fail in one domain, you get left out, right? So now I come to the detailed domain analysis, and I'll throw you some questions so you can try to understand what is it that you can expect, and do you have the capability to appear for this exam? Because the questions which I'm going to throw to you, if you find them that they are complete no go for you, then probably you'll have to look at something which is before CISSP, like CompTIA security class, right? So domain one is all about senior level guys. How do they manage security? What are considerations they need to have once they are planning security for an organization? The list is listed. The things are listed, and we will give, if somebody wants the slides, can take it from, right? So it's all about how to manage security and what are the considerations for managing security within your organization. Right? Just to give you a small flavor of what kind of questions can come, I'm not saying these questions will come. Just to give you a preparation kind of a question, it's there on the slide. You all can chat out the answers. Right? So the question is: a multinational organization is implementing a new cloud-based solution, okay, to store and process sensitive customer data. The Chief Information Security Officer is concerned about the potential risks associated with this transition. What is the primary responsibility of the CISO in this particular scenario? Right? Or CISO is a senior level guy, right? He needs to understand this company is going to migrate to cloud. What should be his major concern, and how would he, probably, uh, direct his teams to get onto solutions which can help him in this change management scenario. So this question you can read, and you can answer. The one simple fundamental of answering questions in CISSP is: first is read the question well, and if required, read the question twice well, and second is twice, and start underlining important things inside your brain, because you may not have the capability to underline when you are in exam, right? So a multinational organization is implementing a new cloud-based solution to store, process sensitive customer data. So what do you do with sensitive customer data? You protect it. The CISO is concerned about the potential risks about this transition. So what is he going to do? Is he going to oversee the day-to-day operations? Is he required to do that? Right? Maybe not. So this is ruled out. Ensure compliance with local privacy laws. Well, that might be one of the concerns, but is it an immediate concern? Okay. Conduct a risk assessment, implement appropriate controls. Uh, does CISO do this? He doesn't do it himself, but he's got a team, and he is somewhere responsible. Right? He might be responsible. Right? So compliance is one of the major factors, could be one of the factors. Risk assessment and implement appropriate controls, maybe, yes, of course. That is one of the things which will be part of this overall change management plan. Develop the technical architecture for the cloud solution. Now, does the CISO develop a technical architecture for the cloud solution? Isn't that something with the cloud architecture team will do, or the technical teams will do? Okay, so I feel this is probably not the answer. So you have a choice between two answers. And now you would like to go with what is the best answer in this scenario. Okay, so in this scenario, both these answers are actually correct. Now, in CISSP, what will happen is you will be told that please pick two best answers. It will happen. Okay. And in this particular cases, both these answers are correct. But if they ask you only check one answer, then privacy laws will be very, very major factor. And risk assessment will only that risk assessment will let you know what are the privacy laws applicable in this country. So the overarching effort is you need to carry out a risk assessment. Because unless you carry out a risk assessment, you will not come to know about what are the privacy requirements. So once you do a detailed risk assessment, you understand, okay, this is the privacy requirements. The data has to be obfuscated. The data has to be encrypted. So both A and B and C are correct answers. But you know, exam might ask which is the best answer. If they ask what is the best answer, you have to select one. But if they ask select all appropriate answers, then in that case, B and C. Okay, both the answers are right. I will not show the answers. But they could be, B is overarching, but C is also there. So exam is different. Okay? But in this case, to arrive at what are the privacy requirements, I have to first do a risk assessment, and CISOs generally assist in that risk assessment. Right. Okay. Then domain two is all about asset security. What are the assets that you hold? What are the data assets? What are the human assets? What are the technical assets? How do you differentiate what is important, what is not? Right? You have to find out. You induct equipment which has to last for next 20 years. Will it be able to sustain the harsh cyber environment for next 20 years? You have to consider it. What will be its end of life and end of service life? You got a laptop, your laptop gets old in 4 years these days. Right? After 4 years, my MacBook is hanging. Why? It can't take any more updates anymore. So imagine an organization which has 100 people bought 100 laptops for, you know, $2,000, 200K, and now after 4 years, it has to again take a capex cost of 200K. Is that organization mature enough to handle so much of budget? So there are a lot of questions which, as information security and cybersecurity professionals, you have to keep in mind. Just because your equipment is going end of life, are you going to throw it out? It has a cost factor. How do you arrive at that cost factor? What are the questions you're going to ask? So when you look at CISSP, it's going to tell you leadership level questions. But at the same time, once the equipment reaches end of life or end of service life, it also starts becoming highly vulnerable. You look at OT systems today, highly vulnerable. Okay. So now the concern is, how do you manage this transition? Your equipment is about to die, but you have to continue living with it. Okay. So these are the concerns of any information and cybersecurity professional. Now, CISO might go and tell the management, hey, listen, this system, it's lived its life, it's very vulnerable. The management says, we don't have the money. What does the CISO do? Does he stop working? No. He has to manage that risk. And that's why you have to understand that risk management is one of the premier considerations to have once you are taking this decision to how to manage the risk of end of life and end of service life. And rest all is all about how to handle data, how to manage data, how to comply data to the local and international laws. Right? Got a small question, and then we will move ahead. So you can read and answer the question. So the question is, you are a security professional working for a multinational corporation. So most of the time, this is just introduction. You don't need to even look at it. The company manages sensitive customer data in multiple locations. To ensure the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of this information, you need to establish a comprehensive inventory of assets. Which of the following is the primary objective of creating this asset inventory? Why do you create asset inventory? So, it's very simple. Everybody knows this answer. Unless you know what you have, you cannot protect it. So, asset inventorization is one of the very, very fundamental requirements. And you will see in the most mature organizations cannot streamline this process. It's so difficult. Okay. I have a startup. It's so difficult for me. There's so many things coming day in, day out. It's very difficult to manage your assets day in, day out. Okay. And that's why having a very, very streamlined identification and asset classification mechanism can only help you in identify what you need to protect. Because if you don't know what you need to protect, you will not be able to protect. Okay. Everybody of you, understands this part, and let's go ahead. Right. We have to identify. So third is security architecture and engineering. Now, security architecture and engineering is a slightly difficult domain once you go through it first time. But the moment you go through it the second time, it becomes very, very easy, because these fundamental principles will help you in your organization in preparing your architecture and engineering plans. Okay, so it talks a lot about cryptography. Okay, but not too deep. You need to understand how to apply cryptography. Okay, and then somewhere down the line, you should be able to apply what kind of cryptography is required where. So it's an overview. It doesn't go into the maths. A slight touches about maths. Okay. Then you have a risk. How do you implement controls? How do you evaluate controls which needs to be put for a given risk situation? Right. And it talks a lot about certain engineering aspects like memory protection. Okay. What are the security models? So it talks about what are the security models you can apply in a given access situation. Now, access is something to do with a subject and an object. Okay, the object is passive and the subject is active. Now, subject could be a human being, it could be a process, okay, it could be a query, whatever. But they need that data to work on, right? And how the access is and who sits between the data and the subject is all about access control. And they are governed by security models. And that's why security architecture and engineering is all about access control modeling. And there are a lot of models which are discussed, around 8 to 10 models which are discussed, which you should be able to apply in a given situation. Okay, for a small question, and then we will move ahead. Yeah, so you can answer this question, and then we can move ahead. Somewhere down the line, this question seems a little incomplete, right? Only one answer. Okay. Right. I'll not go deep diving into why, but I can tell you that once you are planning your security and architecting your security, one of the fundamental security principles is to give least amount of access to anyone. Okay. You make your house. Okay. You've got some jewelry inside your house. Do you want to give access to everyone to that jewelry? No, right? So whenever you design systems, by default, you try to keep it as away as possible from anyone and everyone, right? And then depending upon the need, you start allocating the resource to the person, right? So that is why least privilege is one of the fundamental principles whenever you are architecting and engineering security. Okay. Right. And domain 4 is all about communication and network security as to how to design efficient and secure networks. This is a slightly technical domain. The guys who have been working in this domain, CCNAs, CCNPs, they find it very easy. You need to have fundamental understanding of TCP/IP. Okay, you need to have fundamental understanding of what are protocols. Okay, what protocols work. You need to have understanding of TCP protocols and UDP protocols and how they are used in various applications that you use today. And based on that, what are the threats? And then how do you mitigate them? Okay. So that's the simplest way of understanding communication and network security. And somewhere down the line, it also talks about wireless communications, okay, optical communications, right? IPsec and VPN. Okay? But at a very shallow level, not very tech deep down. Why do you need IPsec between two sites? What kind of IPsec you are going to choose, right? These are the very simplest of things which uh, CISSP touches. Okay, let's go through one more question and then we will. Right. So this is the next question. I've kept these questions very simple. Don't think that these are the type of questions to come. These are the types of do come, but not all of the questions are like that. There are a few easy questions, then 70 to 80 very difficult questions, and then the exam tapers down. Right. So this question is, there is reports of unauthorized access attempts and want to implement a security measure that can actively identify and block suspicious activities. Okay. Block. Okay. Does a VPN block? No, VPN provides the secure tunnel. Does a firewall block? It definitely blocks. Uh, and can it actively identify and block suspicious activities? Yes. These days, firewall do come up with this capability. Okay. Antivirus software is something which resides on an endpoint and it doesn't check for access. So this is outright no. VPN outright. No, firewall and IDS. These are the kind of systems today. Today, IDS comes inbuilt into the firewall. So both A and C are correct. Okay. But if you look at third generation networks, IDS were responsible for blocking the, actively blocking the suspicious activity on a network. Right. So it is IDS plus firewall. Both today, next generation firewall come inbuilt with, IDS capabilities. Then domain 5 is about identity and access management. Now, identity and access management is a domain where we are looking at, there are 2,000 people working for this organization. How do we manage these identities? What if someone comes from somewhere and, spoofs a employee? Okay. Similarly, we have thousands of applications running. What if a critical application is accessed by someone who is not from our organization? Now, all these are challenges of identity and access management, and how do you how does this relate to overall security will be the focus of this particular domain, right? So, got a small question about identity and access management, and then we will quickly go through domains 6, 7, and 8, which are shorter and easier domains. The domain 5 onwards, the ride becomes very, very easy to track. Okay, people find it easy going from domain 5 onwards. The most difficult domains which anybody encounters are domain 3 and domain 4. If you pass that, you know, domains, you will be able to tackle CISSP much easier. So, got this question for you. Okay, what process is primarily responsible for granting John the appropriate access? John, given the appropriate access, he needs access to sensitive informations. Okay, what process is primarily responsible for granting? So, somebody is granting access to a subject. Okay, here is the data, and somebody is granting access, is letting them go. What is that process called? Simple, right? Authorization. So every time you are looking at, trying to access something, who is going to authorize? And is that authorization mechanism clearly defined? Okay. What is identification that is taking place? Authentication happens to prove the identity. It does not allow. Okay. So one of the users said, authentication. Authentication is you're trying to prove your identity. When you're trying to prove your identity, doesn't mean you'll be allowed to go through your gate. So once you've proven your identity, then the access control decides whether you will be granted access or not. And that process is called authorization. So you see, that's more of an English exam, right? Okay. Then domain 6 is about security testing, how to test your security, how to test the efficacy of controls that you have implemented in your organization, how to process the data securely, how to connect systems securely, how to carry out vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Okay, why penetration testing is required, and finally, how to audit your security and their controls. So this is the focus of domain 6. Okay, so got a question for you, and then we are left with two more domains. So you're a cybersecurity professional conducting a security assessment of a company. During your assessment, you discover an unsecured wireless access point connected to the corporate network. What type of security vulnerability does this represent? Now, this question has got nothing to do with security testing, but somewhere down the line, your audit failed. So you have a network switch on which somebody has come and put a wireless device. So somewhere the access failed. Is it a network security concern? At the first place, you know, you discover an unsecured wireless access point. How that unsecured wireless access point came in your network, isn't that also a concern? So for me, if I'm a CISO, for me, both are a concern. I'm concerned how someone managed to install a wireless access point which is non-secure to my existing switch. Why my security controls didn't allow this to happen? That is first part, right? Is it an authorized access point or is it an unauthorized access point? That is my concern. How did it come at the first place? And second is, of course, network security concern that even if it's an authorized wireless access point, how did someone miss out to make it a secured endpoint? Right. So these are the two concerns for me once I'm looking at from a CISO's point of view. Of course, the answer says network security upfront, but if you look at CISO's point of view, at first place, was there a failure of physical security that somebody was able to come and put this wireless access point on your network? And finally, security operations is not about SOC. It is about how you run security inside your organization. It's got nothing to do with SOC. SOC is just one part of monitoring and identification. Okay, it's got nothing to do with how do you operate security. You operate security by continuously monitoring, having laws in place, having processes to investigate what has gone wrong. Okay, and you have processes in place for vulnerability management, patch management, any disaster which strikes your organizations. Are you well prepared? That is what is security operations all about. Whenever we talk about security operations, otherwise people say, "Oh, you got a SOC and you're running your operations." No. Have you given least privilege? Are you auditing your least privilege accounts consistently? Are you, do you have your controls in place? Has the audit happening? That is part of security operations, right? SOC is just one element of identification, monitoring, and responding to a given threat technologically. Right? But a small question, and then we will move ahead. You are a security analyst responsible for monitoring network activities. When do you notice an unusual spike in outbound network traffic? Outbound means somebody is going out from your firewalls and internet gateway. From a specific workstation, what security operation is most likely being compromised? Oh, this is what security operation is most likely being compromised? Okay. Is access control been compromised? Is security assessment been compromised? Is security awareness training is compromised? Of course not. It's activity at the network level. Security assessment, no. Your assessment will not stop it from happening if your assessment fails. So it is either an access control problem or it's an incident response, failure of incident response or failure of access control. Okay. It could be either of the one. So when your security operation is compromised, what is it? Is it incident response or is it access control? So we can easily home down to two answers, right? So it might so happen that you've lost access of your endpoint and then somebody is sending data, or you somebody has attacked your system and your incident response couldn't kick in and now data is moving out. Two ways of looking at it. Right. So these are the challenges for, you have to get your depth very, very clear. These are not the questions which are specific to CISSP. CISSP is going to go and test you into much, much deeper, zones. Okay. And actually, if you look at this, your incident response mechanism has failed. Access control may not have failed. Okay. Access control will be the cause of somebody breaching, but nobody was able to detect, right? So you detected it, and why that compromise happened? Why couldn't you get over it? And data exfiltration. So when data exfiltration started happening, that is the time you are seeing the spike. That means your incident response team has failed in detecting what went wrong earlier. So it's not access control problem. Okay. And finally, it's software object system development security, how to build systems in a ruggedized manner, in a much more better manner once you want to, introduce, buy, or build new software and system in your organizations, right? So that this is the domain which touches on those aspects, right? So, got a small question, and then we will end the session for the day. We're about when, but I'll give you a few strategies to tackle CISSP materials. Right. The question is, what is the primary goal of secure coding practices in software development? Is it to enhance code performance? Yes, of course. Is it to minimize code complexity? Yes, of course. Is it to mitigate security risks? Yes, of course. Is it to maximize user interface designing? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a coder, but maybe yes. So it's mainly, secure coding practices is to mitigate security risk, right? But secure coding practices also helps minimize code complexity and enhance code performance. Remember that. Okay. So it's primarily to mitigate risks, but at the same time, it will also reduce complexity of the code and it will enhance your code performance. Right. So now, how do you prepare for CISSP? Right. Okay. Read some. Right now, 10th edition is about to come. I'm waiting for the 10th edition. I've already ordered. Right. Nothing great. I've already taken this material into my slides, so not a concern. Right. Read Cybex 9th edition, please. Without reading, you cannot pass this exam. Whether you read Cybex, whether you read Destination Certification, that's also a good book. But I stick to Cybex because even if you read Destination Certification, you still have to read Cybex. You can't escape Cybex. You can go and read reviews on r.r/CISSP. You will say 98% read Cybex. Only probably 2% say I passed using Destination. And those 2% who passed using Destination also read Cybex. So Savix is inescapable for your preparation. It's a boring book. It's a dull book. It will make you sleep. You'll get fatigued. And that's where I come because I make Cybex easy. I let you correlate what you're going to read. Okay. So, but not necessarily that you have to go with me. There is Thor Peterson, there is Prab Nair, there is uh, Luke Ahmed, there's so many people who are taking CISSP sessions. Anyone, you can go for recorded sessions, you can do whatever, but you have to read Cybex. There's no escape from Cybex. Okay, you have to do it. So first read Cybex, second read Cybex, but in a more uniformed manner, right? And then you attempt the chapter end questions. This is where you will get questions right and get questions wrong. The questions you get wrong are your weak areas. Clear those weak areas. Then you revise twice. Okay. And then you attempt Cybex third edition practice test. These are the practice tests. Attempt them. Okay. If you're generally staying around 60 to 70%, 70 to 80%, and you can debate the concepts. Very important is can you debate the concepts? If you are able to debate the concepts while you are preparing, you debate it with yourself, you debate it with your study partner, you debate it with anyone. If that is something which you can do, then you are ready for the exam. Practice around 3 to 4,000 questions. Boson is a must. I do recommend Boson. I do recommend Cybex third edition. Okay. So once you've done all this, you are ready for the exam. You book the exam and pass. So this is the live class calendar for this particular batch, which I'm going to start next week. Okay, this will end by around 22nd of June, and exam strategy and closing session. I generally keep 1 week buffer. Okay, I just have one class, one session every month. Okay, I only do it on weekends. I do not do repetitive sessions, and my batch strength is generally 15 to 18. I do not take students more than 15 to 18 students per match, so that it remains a very healthy and a batch can discuss with each other. Right. This is roughly the calendar for my course, so you can plan on attempting your exam sometime in the month of August. right? So this is the rough plan. Okay, once you pass your exam, okay, you have to get an endorsement. You have to cover 120 hours of CPE. That is something not very difficult. Like you just had a 1 hour session with me, you just earned a 1 hour CPT. Okay, I do assist with endorsement for all students who pass and come to me and say, "Sir, I want endorsement." Right? What after CISSP? Now that's a very important question. What do you want to do after CISSP? Okay, can you work that out? You have to see whether you want to get into cloud security, you want to get into security architecture and engineering, you want to get into GRC, you want to get into senior leadership roles. It's completely up to you, but it will open your roads very, very clearly. Right. I'm done with today's session, almost an hour, and I'm open for any questions you'd like to throw at me. Okay. You can chat it out, and I have the chat running on my mobile. I can read it, and I can get to your any queries you might have. Okay, any questions you may please ask, and I can take on those questions. Okay, you can just type out the questions. Okay, if there are no questions, then I will proceed ahead. And you know, if you want to take live training, uh, then you can come to us. Few things. I do not go into, I go into depth. I teach concepts. I do not aim for shortcuts. It's a long journey, and I clear out the concept. I try to help and make your ride more easier and simpler. But at the same time, I would like to say that it's your fun. It is probably 10% me, or 10% Thor Peterson, or 10% Prab Nair, or 10% Prashant Mohan, or 10% anyone else. You have to do it yourself. Uh, Mohammad Tabish, I must tell you, the infrastructure and the network guys are best suited for the certification. I was an infrastructure guy. Yeah, I had an exposure to security, but I never knew I was doing cybersecurity, to be frank. We were managing everything, we were doing everything, but infra guys are the infra and network guys are the best people to attempt CISSP. You will find it easy. I can definitely tell you that. Infra guys should go for it. I have no doubt about it. Market acceptance for CISSP is very high. Okay, infra guy with the security exposure is a win-win, right? If you are in infra, definitely. If I am an infra guy, I would definitely get into cloud infra also. Right? If I have been in on-prem infra, I would like to have cloud infra also at my backend and security also at my backend. So once you are an infra guy and you've got network on your side, you've got cloud on your side, and you've got CISSP on your side, uh, I think you are Thor. Market acceptance is very high. For infra people with CISSP, market acceptance is going to be very high. But then you have to create your CV in that manner, which exposes you to both infra and security roles. You can't just expect to put CISSP and uh, you know expect the hiring manager to get your strengths. You will have to get those strengths. Uh, what is the pass rate? 100%. If you prepare well, 100%. There's got no doubt about it. There's nothing called pass rate, Kanan, because to be frank, it's your hard work. And I will say those who work hard and prepare well, Ghazal can give you the figures in our academy. In last 4 months, I have trained roughly 56 people, out of which only 18 have booked the exam. Okay, only 18 booked the exam. Out of 56 people who trained, only 18 people had the guts to book the exam. Out of 18, 17 have passed. Okay, 17 have passed. We have a list of names. You can take it from Ghazal. They are there on our social media platforms. Okay, there are few who do like to flash it, and there are few who don't like to flash it. Right, and out of 18, 17 have passed, and the 18th is got his exam due on 23rd. So it's all about taking that leap of faith and taking that risk and prepare. Without preparation, you cannot achieve this exam. I can that I must tell you. This is not CISA. This is not CISM. This is not CRISP. This is not CCNA. This is CISSP. And why is it revered? Because it's an exam which tests your concepts. It tries to catch your weak areas, and it's an AI-based engine which is always trying to catch your weak areas. And once it has caught your weak areas, then it is going to finish you. But if you're well prepared, then that engine cannot match you. Then it will throw you questions. After 50, 60 questions, it understands that this guy has absolutely clear fundamentals and he'll pass the exam at 100 questions like Prakhar passed. Right? But then he prepared. He prepared very hard. Are you ready to prepare that hard is the question. Right? There's no pass rate. Nobody can tell you that. So those who do not tend to cram answers, those who tend to only understand concepts and go very, very strong on concepts, you'll pass this exam pretty easily. Right. Any other questions? Right. We have everything available. There's no dearth of material, to be frank. You can pass this exam by watching YouTube videos also. It's all about your hard work and effort. Yeah. What happens with me is I push people, definitely. Once you come on training, I make it a routine. You come every Sunday, Saturday, Sunday morning, 8 to 12. I make you go through sessions and throw questions at you. We give you as much content as possible. But at the end of the day, you are the one who's got to do the hard work. Right? We can only pull you and get you to the water. You have to drink the water. Okay, that's all from my side. I think I've covered the questions. Right? Anything else? You can get in touch with Ghazal. She's flashed the number. Okay, and I'll be happy to help you. Okay. Uh, Most of the people who have trained with me have passed, and I'm pretty happy. That success gives obviously a boost for me to, no tools, Mohammed, no tools, no tools. There's no tools required, no coding required, no uh, configurations push, nothing. You are not going to write any YAML file or a Terraform file, nothing like that. It's a conceptual exam. How to think about security in an organization. No tools, nothing. You have to get out of from the infra mindset actually. Okay. I think we've taken enough time of yours, and if any other questions, you can get in touch with us. The number is flashed on screen, right? And we'll be happy to help. These are the contact details. This is my personal number. If somebody has any problems, want to know anything, you can just ping me, right? And thank you so much. I'm done with session today. Any other questions, you can just email us or you can WhatsApp us on this particular number and we'll get back to you. Okay. I'm done for the day. Question answer session I've already taken. Right. Thank you so much for your attendance and patience. And we will keep coming up with some good courses. We've just launched our Microsoft 365 hands-on course. Anybody interested to understand security operations on the cloud using Microsoft Azure Sentinel, you can join the course. It's going to be a fun course. That's also very wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Take care. Bye bye. Good night.